Welcome back to Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by a reformed Jeff.
Reformed? How am I reformed? What does that mean?
Oh, we're going to get into it, but...
I know what this is about. Am I reformed?
You might be.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But welcome back to Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by co-host Jeff.
Yeah, I introduced myself. I'm reformed now.
Reformed Jeff.
We did this.
We did this. You did this. But Jeff, what's the theme this month?
So this month's theme is heist movies. These are movies where you go get a thing, and probably it's illegal. And so far, some of these movies have been pretty light on the heist.
But there is heist involved.
Yeah. And
we didn't specify how much heist we had to have.
That is a formality that both you and... Listen, I'm not trying to start anything. But last week's film and this week's film, very light on the heist.
Very light, you sure?
But both heist is a footnote on the stories. The story isn't the heist, unlike Rogue One, where the heist was the story.
Sure,
that's how I would differentiate them.
In both No Sudden Move and here in the film we watched this week, the heist has a lot to do with the plot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Even though the heist isn't really in the film, the thought of the heist has a lot to do with moving the story forward. Anyways, what did we watch this week?
Well, this week we watched Chappie from 2015, directed by Neill Blomkamp. It is starring Sharlto Copley, Dev Patel, Hugh Jackman, Sigourney Weaver, a gentleman named Ninja, and a woman named Yolandi Visser. As well
notably from the band Die Antwoord.
I had to. Did you look up their stuff?
I've known of Die Antwoord. I don't listen to their stuff, but
I did not know of them. This is my introduction to them. So, in the credits, there's a song playing, and it is this band Die Antwoord, which is again made up of these two folks, Ninja and Yolandi, and it is a techno hip hop style. And so I went on YouTube and checked out some more videos, and I gotta say, I don't hate it. It's actually kind of good. It's kind of good. But some of their song, well, one in particular I was listening to was an Aphex Twin song that they just decided to rap over, which is weird. Like, if you don't know who Aphex Twin is, they're like, it's this guy who's pretty much like the most famous techno guy, I think. Anyway, that's people who actually know anything about that music are yelling at me for being so naive, but that's the way and I also recognize that Ninja had an Aphex Twin tattoo on him. But that is my extent of do you listen to a lot of electronic music?
Yes and no. I mean, not really. I don't listen to it enough to know like who's who in the EDM world, but
yeah.
Like if something comes on my playlist and it's EDM, I'm probably turning it up.
Okay. Well, that's a good way to review it. But yeah, so I actually kind of dig their sound. It is that thumping EDM, but it's Yolandi has this really high pitched sort of cutesy vocals to go along with Ninja being Ninja. Basically, he's the same character in this movie as he is. Yeah, but
music. He's the rapper in their group.
Well,
right?
They both sort of rap, but he definitely only raps, whereas Yolandi will sing. As far as I can tell, and this is me having watched maybe 3 music videos on YouTube, so I'm at no means an expert.
So, this film, Chappie, takes place in South Africa. Neill Blomkamp is South African. Die Antwoord is a South African group. So this film revolves around South Africa in more ways than just the setting. And so, and you had never seen it, right?
Correct. Had you, I should say.
I think I'd seen some of it. I hadn't seen all of it. It might have come on TV or something where I caught a little bit of it. But had you seen any other Neill Blomkamp films?
District 9 I've seen. And did he make more movies than that? I mean,
he made Elysium, starring Matt Damon.
No, I did not see Elysium. There's a film called Demonic, which I did not see that either. So he's got a few things on here, but largely, pretty much, it was just, I think, a lot of people.
He just
District
did
9.
the Gran Turismo film.
Okay.
Starring Orlando Bloom and
That was such
David Harbour.
like if I pick video games that
Did you see it?
No.
Hold on. Okay, you're gonna shit on it. You haven't seen it.
Yeah, this is my thing. I don't know if you noticed that or not. Remember how I was shitting on the whale for so long?
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Don't spoil your review because we're gonna get into that. Yes, I do.
Fucking piece of shit.
No, Gran Turismo was pretty good. I liked it.
I'm just saying, if I had to pick, because it's just a racing movie, right? Like, how do you differentiate this racing movie from any other racing movie?
The whole plot of
that it's the video game.
The plot of the movie is they take a kid who is the best Gran Turismo player in the world, and they put him in an actual race car.
Okay.
That's
seems
right.
At least I get okay. Fair enough. Fine. I'm converted and reformed again.
Anyways, so you'd seen District 9. You hadn't seen Elysium. Elysium is along the same vein as District 9 and now this Chappie.
I just remember District 9 being depressing. Like the guy turning into the bug was so visceral, and it was a lot. It was a lot.
No, but it was also, I think, ahead of its time a little bit. That style of film where it's integrates technology into it's sci-fi, but it's like realistic sci-fi, I guess. Much like this movie, where
is it futuristic? I mean, like they have PlayStation 4s because this is a Sony film, right? So they had to have about 83 PlayStation 4s.
Well, it also takes place in 2015.
Does it? So it's not the distant future. So
it says in the tagline says in the near future. So
yeah, so like USB is still a thing, but USB-C isn't yet. I don't know, but that was kind of interesting for me as a tech guy, sort of tech guy, seeing the older, what is now older tech, being presented as futuristic.
Yeah. So the whole plot here is that in South Africa they have robots that are the police force, and Dev Patel's character is kind of the brain behind the robots and this company. I don't remember if the company's ever known, is ever stated, but it's a for-profit company.
I mean, they say the company name.
Oh, do they?
And it's written on the vans.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
It's written on the side of Chappie's head. I don't know the name of the company, but it's in there.
But, so Dev Patel, he stumbled. I don't know if he stumbles or creates.
He creates
this sentient
artificial intelligence. Is artificial intelligence that is sentient.
Yes, but it doesn't have a body, essentially. And so he goes to his boss, Sigourney Weaver, and he asks her, "Hey, I have this thing. I would really like to, essentially experiment with it, put it in a robot." And she was like, "Absolutely not. We need police robots, blah, blah, blah." And we're introduced to Hugh Jackman's character, who has one of the all-time worst haircuts in a film ever.
Fuck off. That haircut smashes. Like, if he was... Listen, maybe it's just because it's on Hugh Jackman's head.
And that might be it.
But it looks pretty good. Like, it's a sort of mullet. It's kind of a mullet.
It really is a mullet.
Mullet light. Listen, he went full Aussie. Like, I know he's an Australian, but he just went full Aussie. He's got the short tan shorts.
Yeah.
The mullet, the accent is just full, which might just be his. I don't know if he's hamming it up or not, but it's full Aussie accent. And there were many times where he looked like the Croc Hunter, and I was here for it.
Well, his character has created a big robot called the Moose,
which looks a lot like the robot from RoboCop. Not the cop robot, but I can't remember the name of it. But the bad robot and RoboCop. Well,
I feel like robot designs get kind of recycled. In film.
And I mean, you could maybe argue that the RoboCop robot looks like. Okay, I would disagree with myself there. I'm thinking of the two-legged robots in Star Wars and the two-legged robot in RoboCop. They don't look alike, despite being bipedal, robots with a big head that swivels. They don't. But the robot in RoboCop does look like this robot to me.
Sure. Hugh Jackman has designed and created this Moose robot that is essentially just a tank on legs. And he is dying to get it out there and really show that the Dev Patel created police robots are obsolete. And essentially the plot is that he introduces some virus or whatever into the computer that controls these robots, and it gets them all shut down.
So, like, one of the things is they kidnap Dev Patel, right? The ninja and Yolandi. And they're like, we want you to shut down the robots. He's like, can't be done. Impossible. It's hard-coded, can't be done. And yet, here comes Short Shorts, and he does it in 2 minutes. And he is not as smart, intellectually speaking, book smart, as Dev Patel is in this film, and yet he is able to do it on a whim. So either Dev Patel was bullshitting, which could be, but that seemed like a plot hole to me.
I feel like maybe Dev Patel was thinking of the a less harmful way to shut them all down rather than just to turn them all off.
But I guess that's true. So, like, at the end, there were still a couple robots up and running.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm thinking when they moved Chappie? So.
Yeah. But I think maybe he was thinking, like, no, if we can't just turn them off. They have to, they're hard coded. They're, this is what they do. They're police
jargon they throw at us numbskulls, and we're like, yeah, man, it's hard coded. Like, we fucking know what that means.
But anyways, so Dev Patel gets shut down by Sigourney Weaver, and then he decides he's going to put the sentient AI in a body of a half-destroyed police robot. And then it's when Ninja and his girlfriend kidnap Dev Patel. That's when they get Chappie.
I'd be interested to hear how why they chose these two musicians to be in the film, and why they have the musicians essentially playing themselves. Like, this is a near future where the band.
Oh, one of them's wearing a Die Antwoord shirt at some point in the movie.
Oh, the shirts are great. They're like, they have a printing press, this gang, because they meet Chappie, and the next day, Yolandi has a Chappie t-shirt.
Yeah.
And then, spoilers, one of the characters dies, and then the next day, the other character has a shirt with that character's face on it.
That's true.
It was awesome. I loved that. The style in the movie of the gang, not so much America. He seems very grounded and normal, one of the characters.
Yeah.
But Ninja and Yolandi have their own style. I like there's the point where Ninja is wearing the $sign underpants.
Yeah.
And he's just walking around. Like, he's so skinny, and he's a really great sort of villain. He's kind of an anti-hero, but man, you hate the guy. He just comes across as so douchey, and I really liked it.
Well, and you know what's shocking to me about both of these band members is that they're both really good actors.
They are great. I wouldn't have known they weren't like actors to begin with.
Right. And that was kind of amazing to me. I was like, this dude Ninja, he's a douchebag, but he plays it well. And like, he might have been acting as himself. I don't know. But they did not come across as wooden. They didn't come across as, one dimensional. It was very, I felt very, very comfortable with their acting on screen.
I think specifically really Yolandi was really good. Like, her performance is being sort of a protective mother figure to Chappie, and her arc and what she goes through, because she does present as pretty innocent sort of person, despite being a criminal. But she's kind, and she's not really wanting to murder a lot of people, and she wants Chappie to be good and grow up to be good, so.
And we should mention that Dev Patel's character, when he uploads the AI into this robot, he tells Ninja and Yolandi that, hey, the maturation process in the AI is going to be rapid, but it will seem at first it's very infantile, and then it will take a minute for the AI to I guess become its full self. And I liked the subplot of Ninja and Yolandi as parents to Chappie. Like, I very much enjoyed Chappie calling Ninja daddy, and really looking to this gangster to kind of show him how to live, but then also caring about Dev Patel's character as its maker. It's just a really interesting dynamic for a movie about a robot.
So apparently this duo are not the greatest people in the world.
Like in real life?
Yeah. I don't...
Are you going to cancel them on our podcast?
Huh?
Are you going to cancel them on our podcast?
I'm just saying, to put it out there, as I said, hey, I kind of like the music. I complimented their acting in the film. They're apparently not the greatest people in the world. And
but why?
Do you want to know?
Sure. I mean, you brought it up.
Okay. Let me pull up a news article. You keep going.
Okay. No, so I thought the subplot of Ninja and Yolandi as Chappie's parents, and really raising him and showing Chappie the type of person they want the robot to be, and then Chappie mimicking Ninja's style, how he talks, how he walks. I thought that was really good. There's a lot of underrated comedic moments in this film from Chappie, and Chappie's voiced by Sharlto Copley, and who has got a very
mocapped, I'm guessing, as well.
Yeah, I would imagine so. But
this is from Le Monde, which is a French publication. South African rap duo Die Antwoord accused of sexual assault by their adopted son. Keep in mind that this film is
are they a thing? Like, are they like
they're a couple.
Husband and wife? Oh, okay, cool.
And keep in mind that is the plot of this film. They essentially adopt, and one of them abuses Chappie.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are things to keep in mind.
That's interesting. The French aren't reliable, so over history, they're just not. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But the character America and Ninja, they raise him, and the idea is that he's going to help them in their heist for money, and the heist involves however much money, who knows, I don't know, but they're going to use Chappie to essentially get the money. And Chappie tells Ninja at some point, "Oh, I can't hurt anybody," and then they convince Chappie, "Well, you're not hurting anybody. You're just making them go sleepy, weepy, I think they call it." and then they go do the heist, and Chappie's throwing ninja stars at folks, going, "You go sleepy, weepy." It was just a lot of underrated comedic moments in another word, otherwise a very dramatic film. But
yeah, it's not as bleak as District 9 was, I think, but I think that the movie it is a smarter. I haven't seen District 9 in a long time, but it does have a lot of smart things. It is kind of an age-old question with AI and consciousness and whether that's actually alive or not. And we can also get into at the end when they transfer the consciousness, if they actually just die, spoilers, Yolandi dies near the end of the film, and they have a backup of her consciousness, but that's not her. That is not the same consciousness or existence that was in her body. Now, you might be able to argue differently when Dev Patel and Chappie switch bodies, because they are alive in that body at the time it switches, and then that body goes dead. But, in my mind, it's still them dying and then just a new being being brought up with all those memories. And that being actually isn't the same being that once was, but it thinks it is, because it's just the data it has in its head.
It's a big philosophical conversation you just had
with myself.
Yeah.
Do you want to engage too? No.
No, I don't know. One, I don't know how a robot puts a helmet on, and then its consciousness is read.
That's what got me.
And put into data, visible data form. And then the science, and what I like about the film is that it doesn't get bogged down in its science. It doesn't. It just does things, and it wants you to go along with it, and it never stops to try to rationalize what it's doing. It's just hey, this is what we're doing. Go along with it because it's a good film. And so the robot putting on the helmet that is supposed to read as consciousness, I'm like, how does that work?
Right. So this is the whole thing is that it can read your neurons in your brain and shit.
Right.
But who's to say? Okay, they do show you that essentially the robot's hard drive is in its head, but the technique that it would use to read human neural synapses and all that shit wouldn't work on a robot head that initially was built without any sort of consciousness and no nervous system in the same sense.
Right.
It all kind of falls apart. You have to turn your brain off at the end, but...
Well, yeah, right. But what I enjoyed is that it didn't try to rationalize it. It didn't try to introduce some weird science behind it. It was just hey, yeah, just go along. The robot's going to put this helmet on and it's going to see its own consciousness. And throughout the film, I think the Neill Blomkamp, who also wrote this film, he establishes that Chappie from very early on is questioning his, place. At one point in time, after he gets beat up by the gang of kids, he goes and sits on a rock and looks over the city, and he's just we're meant to think that he's just contemplating, what is his place. And
there's a lot of him being why do humans do this?
Right.
Why do you hurt people? And then he goes on to hurt people, right? So it is kind of an interesting thing that maybe, people hurting people is a cyclical thing that causes them to hurt more people. Like Chappie doesn't want to hurt people until the end, when he knows that,
but he doesn't kill Hugh Jackman, right?
That's true.
And the last thing he says to Hugh Jackman is, "I forgive you." And so like the overarching question,
though.
Yeah, right. But the overarching question is that, hey, here's a robot, artificial intelligence, that is sympathetic and can forgive and has these human type of emotions, and that is different from when we first are introduced to Chappie. And I just thought like and it's not really a redemptive arc, is because there's no redemption to Chappie, but he goes through different stages of mimicry and the type of person he's mimicking. And at first it's Ninja's personality, and then he kind of mimics Yolandi's personality a little bit, kind of on the softer side. And then by the end of the film, we see him actually become his own person, and he forgives.
Kind of. He never stops doing the nose sniff wipe thing.
Oh,
like there's I guess tough people do, where they kind of just bump their nose with their knuckle, and he continues to do that throughout the entire film.
Well, and he walks around like he's holding his pants up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just little things like that are very funny, but also they may not go noticed right away, but it's consistent throughout the entire film, which is a sign of good filmmaking. But I enjoyed the arc of Chappie. I didn't so much care for the ending of, the maker gets put into a robot body, and it's kind of the reverse.
It felt like a lot to me. Like, it was, I was on board with them trying to save Chappie, because he's on a clock right from the beginning, where I kind of, not everyone surviving, but this idea that he's going to remake his mom, and I kind of would have been fine with a little bit more of a bleak ending, like her just being dead and that's it,
or even Chappie dying, right? Even like Chappie's self-sacrifice, his sacrifice at the end of giving Dev Patel's character the body that he was going to be trying. Like I would have been very much on board with that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was too neat of an ending.
Yes.
In a film that is very well done, very well written, and like it felt, not that it was unearned, is because these characters do earn the ending that they got, but I just like, and it's rare that we sit here and talk about, hey, I wish the ending would have been more bleak, but it did seem like it was too too sunshiny for this type of film.
Group outside of America, the core group survived.
America he gets cut the fuck up in half.
How good was that? Like the whole movie. I mean, there's a lot of gunfire and stuff, but it's not like nobody's getting shot that often, and so it's not particularly crazy violent. But then America just gets destroyed in a gruesome fashion. And he's like the only one who did get killed in a gruesome fashion. And it was kind of interesting that this was a choice they made, not just to have him simply get shot, but, ripped in half.
There's a lot of, I don't know what to call it, but Americanism or America symbolism in this film. That's very outward. It's very upfront in your face. They have an American flag up in the hideout. A character's name is America.
Yeah.
At different times, Yolandi's wearing a American flag outfit. And so I wonder what the message was for that. Is because like I was watching it and I was like, there's got to be a meaning behind why that symbolism was here. And I by the time the end of the film, I thought back on it. I was like, I don't know what it was. It's because like there's no outward like I'm sure this film is a commentary on something. It's got to be a commentary on police, or whatever it is. Like
it has to be. We just don't know what it is.
Right, but I'm
because it's not a commentary on police because essentially. The robot police do a pretty good job.
Crime's down and right. Yeah, they established that the crime is down because of these robots but the robots are hated. Like at every stretch, the human people in this film hate these robots. And so like I just wonder if Neill Blomkamp was trying to correlate overreach of police and America, and there's some correlation there. I didn't know. I just thought it was some interesting symbolism at different points in the film. In a film that it does have a message, and I want to say the message is about the state of policing, because this film was made in 2015, and in the mid 20-teens, in the United States. We had the Ferguson, Missouri debacle, which was a low point for police in the country, and so like I wonder if this had any if this was kind of commentary on that moment in the country. I don't know. I just thought a lot of that was interesting.
Yeah, but I think. If there is a message, it's kind of lost in the sauce a bit to me. I don't know what the message was. They tried to talk about what does it mean to be alive, but they don't actually talk about that. You just kind of pretty much assume Chappie is, right? Chappie's alive. He's not a computer program, and that's good enough, and they move on. So,
well, yeah, and the film's 2 hours, so like it's not long and it's not too short. I think it's probably adequate for what this film is.
Yeah.
They could have added 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and I don't think the film would have suffered for it if they had decided to maybe explore some themes more in the film. I don't think, but at the end of the day, I think I'm okay with them glossing over a lot of the themes. Because the film is entertaining. The film the characters are entertaining, and the focus doesn't, I never at any point thought any of the characters were boring. I thought Sigourney Weaver was kind of wasted. I don't know why she was here.
Yeah, I agree.
But at the same time, Hugh Jackman, he does a good job of playing kind of
he's
a menacing
loose cannon, man.
Yeah, right, but he's not this menacing villain, right?
I did have a problem with his character, mostly when he gets in the robot. So the whole time I'm thinking that he's really just this ambitious guy who doesn't like AI, and he's built this robot, and he has a way he thinks things should be done.
Yeah.
But then he gets in the robot and he becomes homicidal.
Yeah, correct.
He doesn't just kill America. He destroys him. And then he's like, you sons of bitches. And he's really angry. It stopped being a chance for him to show off this cool technology he really believes in and was going to get him this grant and all the money in the world. He just wants to kill people at the end of the day. That's all there is.
And
he went to war for something and then came back, and now he just likes killing.
Well, and then there may be more commentary to that, as hey, people in power only get power, and they're not putting themselves on the line. They're essentially powerful because they're controlling. They're controlling things remotely. Those type of things where
podcasting with Gandhi. Oh my God.
There is and that commentary has been around since the Iraq-Afghanistan war, where drones were unmanned drones were introduced in and were a big talking point in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and so I think there's a lot of that going on here, and it's very subtle, but I agree with you. I think Hugh Jackman's character becomes a different person in the film when he puts the helmet on and starts controlling this gigantic robot. But I also thought like that was one of the best action scenes in the film. It's a very good action scene.
I really like the opening one where I was like, oh shit, because it starts off with what looks to be a heist of all things.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of shooting and weird people, man. And I mean, maybe that's wrong of me to say. But counterculture, folks.
Counterculture.
This guy with the dreadlocks, he's ripped and he's an asshole. I don't know what his deal was, but he's like the boss. Now, did you get in that first heist? Were they stealing oatmeal? It looked like oatmeal, and I thought this was like a food issue, you know, like in Demolition Man, where they're trying to just steal food to eat. And I thought, oh, this is going to be an interesting commentary on, you know, what criminality is. You know, is it really criminal to steal food to eat when you have none?
Right.
And no, I don't know. I think it was worth some sort of money because the guy was like, you owe me $40 million.
Right. I mean, there probably is some of that in this film. I think the setting is because it's a different time in the film. Chappie goes with Ninja in America to steal rich people's cars. And when we see those
sequence.
Really
good.
Right. We see those rich people, they live in looks like a regular neighborhood
Why do you
suburb.
steal Daddy's car? Why do you steal? Really? One of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, and so like I think there is that class warfare message here as well. Yeah. And so I like a lot of it. Like I agree with you. A lot of it is very surface level. Like we get the theme here, but it's not really explored. But at the end of the day, I don't mind that, is because I think if they had tried, if Neill Blomkamp had written this and tried to explain any of the themes in the film, other than, hey, you know, AI can have emotion. I don't know if that's actually the main theme of the film, but I think if he had tried to explain or, you know, really dive into multiple themes, this film would have maybe fallen apart.
Yeah.
Is Chappie a top 5 movie robot all the time?
A top 5 movie robot. So let's look at this. Movie robots.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no because I think I'm going to come up with more right now that I would put on top. The T-1000, specifically from Terminator 2.
Okay.
Wait, not the T1, the T-100. I mean, the Arnold.
Arnold, yes.
But then again, the T-1000 is on that list as well. Johnny Five, maybe, I think, would be on that list. Are you a Short Circuit fan?
I mean, it's fine. Like, I'm not a fan of Short Circuit, but I mean, I've seen it multiple
Johnny
times.
Five is alive. Like, it's the original Chappie, to be honest.
Right, sure. Okay,
and what else? What other robots do we have? I think of Sonny from iRobot. I like that movie.
No, Chappie's a better robot character.
Yes,
than
I agree
Sonny
with
and
that.
iRobot.
So I'd say he's in the top 5. Yes.
Okay, good.
I can't think of another robot. I mean, RoboCop, but he's more of not an android. He's a cyborg.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count.
No, I think Chappie as a robot in film is one of the best that I've seen. And I've seen my share of robot films. I just think it's like Sharlto Copley does a lot to add flavor and personality to Chappie the character. Whereas I don't really know if somebody else had voiced him, if he had you know, that type of personality, but he certainly does a lot to humanize the robot, and so I do think a lot. You know, the choice of actor that voices Chappie has a lot to do with how well the robot's received here. But I did one thing I did enjoy. Another thing I enjoyed was the facial expressions by the mechanical parts on this robot.
Yes, I thought they were really well done.
Yeah. Like there's like two bars, like on its like meant to like look like eyebrows maybe, and then there's a bar at the lower portion of the head.
Yeah, they all were mechanical, but they all they were expressive, but they didn't ever feel
fake,
unrealistic in its mechanical nature.
Yeah, exactly. And the ears, or whatever the antennas or whatever they are, that Chappie uses throughout the film as expressive, like kind of like a dog's ears. I just thought like little subtle things in this film really go a long way to in the enjoyment factor for me.
Yeah, I think so too. But the question is, do you recommend it?
Oh yeah, this is a really good movie. It's well acted. It's well directed. The story is, the story here is about Chappie, but it does a lot to make you kind of sympathize with a lot of the different characters in this film. And at certain times you sympathize with Chappie. At certain times you're sympathizing with Ninja, who is the one of the worst characters. From a like kind of villain standpoint, but he like you said, he has an anti-hero redemptive arc,
and he kind of turns around and he gets on board with Chappie and that sort of stuff. Yeah,
and so like there's a lot to like here. It's very stylistic. It's very like the sets, like the hideout set is very cool and stylish. And there's a lot. This guy Neill Blomkamp, from the movies I've seen of his, he has a way that he shoots films, and it's very kind of surface level. Like there's a lot of camera work done in this film where you're following Chappie around from like the shoulder level.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of that to like. I just thought it was really good. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
What about
you? I enjoyed it too. I don't know if I enjoyed it quite as much as you did. The ending kind of petered out a little bit for me. I thought it had a strong climax, but then they kind of had this dragged out a little bit at the end. But I think I'm going to not recommend it, but just
what
barely.
What the
fuck? It's pretty good, but it's not. I'm not ever going to watch it again, to be honest. And I'm sorry. It didn't hook me in the same way you did.
All right. Before we get into what we're watching next week.
Yes.
We have to tell everybody that you are not a Darren Aronofsky fan.
I am not.
Notably here on the podcast,
now, I will
you
say,
have said you have said fuck that guy. I hope he dies.
No. No. Whoa, that is out of context. I said piece of shit movies. I've called his movies shit. I've said he's pretentious. At least his films are pretentious. I never wish death upon him.
I want to go. I wish ChatGPT could like go and sift through the transcription.
I would like that because there's no point would I say what you said. I've definitely called his films a piece of shit. I mean, if you go back and listen to the one on the fountain about how pretentious I think that film is, I certainly have. And I think I've even gone so far as to say I don't hate Darren Aronofsky. I don't think
you've ever said I don't think you've ever said I don't hate Darren.
We'll have to go back, like if you want to go back and find something and edit it in where I'm wrong, just don't chop it up to make it sound like something I never actually said. But I also have said I like the movie The Wrestler.
Yes, that is correct. Right. You have gone on record as saying The Wrestler is one of your favorite films.
No, I did not say that. Again, you're taking shit too far. I was like, it would be like, I don't like Aronofsky's movies, although The Wrestler's pretty good. That was the extent of it.
So
and one of the things about, let me say, about The Wrestler that makes me like it is grounded and it is not pretentious. It doesn't have that sort of overly artsy style that Requiem for a Dream and The Fountain have that I really, really hate. I really hate that style. And The Wrestler tells a human story about someone down on their luck. Yeah. You may continue now.
Well, so we talked off pod a couple weeks ago about the movie The Whale, and yes. you never see it. You didn't really have any...
And I believe I went so far as this, you had said, it's really good. And I said, fuck that. I'm not watching that shit.
Right, correct. Yeah. And then, so tell everybody why you decided you were going to watch The Whale.
Morbid curiosity. I was sitting there. You said it was good. And I think just morbid curiosity. I clicked it to, it was on Netflix. And that's kind of all the thought I put into it. And I like Brendan Fraser, right? If you've listened to the pod, like the Encino Man episode, I like Brendan Fraser.
I'm going to read verbatim what you texted me after you watched it.
Yes.
LOL. Didn't think he had it in him to make a movie both sad and hopeful. It's pretty brilliant.
Yes, I did. Those are my words. So I also wrote to my co-host over on Chronologically.
Friend of the podcast, Eric.
Friend of the podcast, Eric. I said, I hate Darren Aronofsky films, right? He said, of course. And then I replied, so take it from me when I say The Whale is incredible.
He had never seen it.
He's not seen it.
Okay.
And I think that tells you what you need to know. Like, if, let's say Mark doesn't like Jean-Claude Van Damme movies.
Sure.
We know that's not true. He loves them. But just for the sake of this argument, let's say he doesn't. And he watches a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and he comes around and he says, guys, I don't really like these type of movies, but you got to watch this one. I think that holds a little bit of weight.
It does. Absolutely.
For me, someone who really has a bad taste in their mouth for Darren Aronofsky films, The Whale is incredible. It's one of the best movies I've watched this year. We didn't watch it for the pod, so it won't be in our top fives.
Right.
But The Fountain's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Might make our bottom five.
Yeah. Well, that was last year. It did make our bottom five. But The Whale is one of the best movies I've ever seen. So, I mean, there you have it.
It is a fantastic film. It got Aronofsky I think he was nominated for Best Director, and then it got Brendan Fraser the Best Actor Academy Award. I am very happy that you decided you were going to sit and watch The Whale. Is because it is one of the best movies from the past few years, and it goes to show you that like these dudes and women that and I use dudes as like kind of just an all general term that make films. They're big time directors for a reason, right? Even if they may be pretentious, like Darren Aronofsky has made good films in his career. The ones we have watched haven't been great. Even though I'm a big fan of Requiem for...
I did not like Requiem.
No, I'm a big fan of Requiem for a Dream, but I'm kind of hit and miss.
I know that's a thing that the only thing people know of from that movie is ass to ass.
I just think that like it just goes to show you that you really can't judge a book, and this is age old, but you can't judge a book by its covers because you will miss out on legitimate great movies, and The Whale is one of those.
Well, and it helps. Let me point out that you recommended it, right? I would have probably not clicked play had you not been, it's actually pretty good.
Right, because I'm in the same boat with you with Darren Aronofsky. I mean, we
both sat through The Fountain, and it ruined us in all the wrong ways.
Right,
and then the Whale comes along and it ruins me in all the right ways.
It's a bonus review. Go watch The Whale. Highly recommended.
Highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. It would be in my top 5, possibly the top movie of the year, had we watched it proper for the pod.
Right. All right, Jeff, what are we watching next week?
The Whale. We're going to watch The Whale. No. We are going to watch from 1992, so you know I picked it.
Yep.
We're going to watch Sneakers with it. It's just filled with actors. This is what you call an ensemble. Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Ben Kingsley, Mary McDonnell, River Phoenix, Sidney Poitier. So, I mean, is it going to be good?
Probably not.
We'll find out, you know?
Probably not. But, anyways, but you know what is going to be good? When you hit that subscribe button, if you're watching here on YouTube, give us a subscribe. If you want to follow the podcast on all your favorite social media platforms, we're on Twitter, X, we're on Instagram and TikTok, and right here on YouTube. So give us a like, follow, subscribe. And don't forget the podcast releases weekly every Thursday on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Jeff, where can they find your other works of art?
My other, that's a strong term. I'm no artist like Aronofsky, but you can find my other podcast chronologically wherever you're listening to this. Also, we have a new podcast, and the feed is out there now, so you can actually search for it and subscribe. It's called All Things Being Sequel, and you'll notice there is the artwork is about our first season, which is covering the films of Leprechaun, which if you were listening to this show, you've already heard the first episode because it was our Leprechaun episode. We're dual releasing it, if you will. So be sure to check out that, get a little subscribe so you don't miss those episodes.
For sure. So join us next week as we watch Sneakers, and you can listen to me shit all over it. But
see, it like he tells me, hey, don't shit on Aronofsky because you haven't watched it yet. And
no, I'm probably going to enjoy the shit out of this one. I say that in jest, just because it's an old film. But anyways, Jeff, any final words?
Nope, none whatsoever.